everyone. Welcome to the Alexandra Show. I'm your host, Alexandra. We are here today live at Petalluda, my salon. And I'm so excited because we have my lovely friend and guest, Megan Huell, who's going to be chatting with me today. And we are talking all things life, career, manifestation, and empire building. And also, you might get to hear what my coffee order is, so stay tuned. Hey girl.
Hey girls, we're coming in.
What's up?
Coming in.
Just getting
We're just on set today.
Just on set live here with my fave, Megan Huell.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing so well.
Good.
Thanks for all the beauty.
Oh my god, yes. We've been talking about doing this for a long time, and then we were like, why don't we just go full glam? So we had our faces both blessed by Beauty by Nelsie. Woo,
Love you,
Best of
Nels.
Boston, shout out, thank you. And then I blessed both of our hair. So hey, glam squad on fleek.
You're my hair goddess fairy, like saving my life over many years of
Yes.
having a lot of interesting hair
Yeah,
colors.
I met you.
been a journey.
Well, I met you a long time ago, but then when we started our hair journey together, similar actually to a lot of my clients meet me in what I like to call a little hair rehab. A lot of times they have been done wrong elsewhere, and they come to me for a little rehab, and I'm proud to say that
I know.
you are fully recovered.
We are recovered, and it's the right color for your
Uh-huh.
tone. And I think you get caught up, I mean, especially too, I was like a child of like the 90s, early 2000s, when it was like, be as tan and as blonde as like possible.
Yes.
So that double process, which for me, as you know, I've had orange hair, I've had green hair.
Oh, not
Yeah,
by
it's
choice.
not a look.
by choice.
That's not a look.
was not a choice.
Yeah, it's not my choice. And now to have, I just feel like hair in this. Like I always call the top, like this is our moneymaker.
Yeah,
truly.
totally. No, truly.
Especially being front facing, right?
Yeah.
So when you don't feel confident, and I mean, it's not just about, oh, I have to like look good and whatever, but I think it's just the confidence when you walk out and your hair's done, or there's like, you feel good about like just overall in your skin and
Totally.
hair
That's what I
flows
always
good,
say about what I do. What I love about what I do is I'm giving people what they feel on the outside, what they feel on the inside. I'm giving that to them on their outside.
Yeah.
Because just having good hair isn't going to make you confident.
No.
But if it matches everything on the inside,
Yes.
it can really represent you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I talk about this a lot. And this isn't where the podcast is going, but I kind of like this little detour.
No, it's good.
It was one of my acupuncturists, what's that? She told me that in Chinese medicine, your hair represents the essence of who you are. And I thought that was really interesting because it really does. And I think that's why people have such an emotional connection to it.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
why a lot of times when someone has a big life change, they want to cut all their hair off or cut bangs or do a big color change or something like that. And it's funny because we're going to get into a little bit about my recent pivot with purpose.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And when I was opening Petalluda, the first month leading up to it before it was open, and it was very tumultuous, inspections and whatever, like everything opening a business. And I kept saying, I'm going to take my extensions out and cut my hair off. And everyone was like, why don't you wait? Just wait
like
like
a
a month.
minute.
Just take a beat. Like there's a lot of change going on.
Yeah.
So it's funny that whenever there's a life change, that's why a lot of times people want to change their hair, because it really does represent your soul.
It's like, and then like a new phase or a new chapter or new whatever. Yeah, no,
Or why people feel like there's an
feel
emotional
that.
release
Yes.
when they do a big hair change.
Yeah, I feel that. I once, like getting out of a terrible breakup, dyed my hair like dark brown. I actually found the picture the other day. I need to like show you.
Yeah.
But I feel like then when it's like doesn't match some of your other tone vibes, like my skin tone and the
can throw you
makeup,
off. Oh,
right?
yeah.
I was like, what is this? But I love it, and I just feel like beauty overall and everything that we are, like body, mind, soul, it all has to be in harmony. But it's like when you feel good, you do good, you look good, and it's so much beyond just like surface.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
getting into alignment of your life goals.
Yes.
Hair, all the
Absolutely.
things. But yeah, sometimes you don't pull that Sarah Jessica Parker. I always think of that Sex and the City. Have you seen that movie?
Yes,
Where
I've
she
seen
goes
all of
also
it.
goes dark brown
Yes.
after like a very bad breakup relationship. Sometimes you just need to like take a minute.
Yeah. And then I do think there's other times where you need to just make the change.
Right.
And regardless of what it is. And
Yeah.
then you can always cycle back. It's not
Yeah.
permanent.
The power of extensions.
Yeah, exactly.
If the Kardashians can go from 72 hairstyles and colors in
Totally.
less than like a month,
So can you with the right stylist. www.petalutasalon.com.
come see us. Yes. Yes.
So let's back up a little bit and talk about how we met, because I feel like this is a very powerful story. I think we are Boston based, both of us live here in Boston, and Boston is notoriously, I would say, has a reputation for being hard to meet people, hard to make friends if you didn't grow up here or go to college here.
Yeah.
I think that's a really common thing. And that being said, I feel like that's kind of a universal thing. It can be challenging as an adult to make new connections. And how do you find like-minded people? And how do you find people who are gonna, support you in your goals and, all the things that you want to accomplish? And I love the story about how we met because we met at a Barry's class.
Fitness.
And I feel like as an adult, me personally, the friends that I've made and become the closest and have the most in common with, I've met them all through the fitness community, which is really interesting.
Yeah, because I feel like there's such a routine to that, where sometimes if you are kind of locked into a specific class, specific day, specific week, you wind up seeing a lot of the same regulars, especially I feel like on the weekends. Yeah. At times, or like those early morning classes where if you're like a 5 a.m. sixer, like that's a special crew too. But the problem in with that, and like you just said, like there are so many people, and I don't know if you feel this way in certain fitness classes, but that would rather like run you over, like getting in and out of class, or just like have no business like trying to start up any conversations with anyone. But then you kind of find it's a big energy thing, right? And I feel like you sort of gravitate towards those people that smile at you when you're getting on the treadmill, or you're like, hey, high five, or other times you're like, don't touch me. So I feel like for me, it's always an energy thing, right? Are you like, you're an energy person?
1,000%. And I feel just what you said, like some people are rushing in and out, but the reason I go to group fitness is because I want the collective energy of the group. Like I want an instructor that's building me up, and like encouraging me to do more. I want that collective energy of the people around me. If I didn't want that, I would just work out at home. I hate working out at home. Like that's not my vibe.
Right.
And so I think there is power in that, and power in those connections. And we met when Barry's was opening their Back Bay location. They had like this big event, and it was like a hard hat tour, and you got to go see it. And we just happened to like cross paths, and I was like, "Hey, girl, what's up?"
Yeah. Well, I feel like it was. I couldn't run over to the studio.
Yes, because they were having us run from downtown to Back Bay.
Because it was those surgery years that I was in. But you're like, hey, can you take my jacket? And I was like, yeah. And I jumped in an Uber with some like rando from class. So I was like, hey, buddy. And showed up and I was like, here's your jacket. And you're like, oh, I'm Alexandra. And then I think it was Ashley too, our friend that was there too. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are so nice. They're like, we're in beauty. I'm like, I love beauty. I love getting my hair done. So it's just like snowball effect.
Totally.
But like sometimes like just say yes, just help somebody, help out a stranger.
And smile.
And you
just
never
smile.
know where it leads.
You never know. Because that was in 2018. Then we became Instagram friends. And then we started hanging out in real life and became accountability buddies. We would meet each other for different classes, whether it was Barry's or Soul Cycle or this and that, or hey, I'm trying this new thing, you want to come with me, whatever. And then I think I started doing your hair in 2020 or 2021.
It was like right after the pandemic. Well, I think there was a moment in the pandemic when we were like outside in tents, like in Chestnut Hill. And I think what I was drawn to you was like that's when you were starting like the education side of like doing courses. And you're always in this like teaching and like mentoring mode because you're so incredible and that's what you do. And I was like, I want to do that. That was like when I was starting my coaching journey. And I remember sitting down and being like, okay, like you coach and you want to mentor, you could do digital things. Like how can I do the same? And just kind of like masterminding that, which then from there to like what you've built now, you're like, okay, online course, I'll take that and raise you a full-on salon, 4 walls, like my own business. But don't underestimate the power of like an idea. And I think in that moment, and you tell me, there was something brewing in you. That's been brewing for a long time, right? But sometimes it will manifest and you feel like you want to do the big thing, but there's a small thing which you can do, but taking that step to saying, I'm doing this, and then it leading to like beyond your wildest dreams, right? Of like finally doing it.
Totally. And I think, you know, for those of you that don't know my story, I've been working in salons since I was 14, a whole 6 years.
You look good.
But I grew up in Maryland, and in Maryland you could assist and without your license. In Massachusetts, that's different. You have to have your license if you're going to touch anyone's head. Yeah. So I assisted all through high school, shampooing, neutralizing perms, like the stuff I look back and did. I'm like, who let me do that? But I knew how to follow instructions, you know, and it was completely legal, just to be clear.
Yeah.
But I knew how to follow instructions. But knowing now what I know, I'm like, this is crazy. And then I, at the time, didn't think I wanted that to be my career. And I wanted to study psychology and communications. So I came to Boston, I went to Northeastern University, and I studied psychology and communications. But at the time, I got a part-time job working as a receptionist at a salon. And I was like, gosh, and it was on Newberry Street, you know, and all the glitz and glamour.
You think you made it. That's where I started in retail.
Yeah.
You like, pinch yourself. You're like, I made it. I'm on Newberry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. And so same thing. At the time, I was still like, it was a little in me, but I just was like really attracted to the industry. But I was like, I don't know, is this a career path? And then I would always find myself, I lived with 5 girls in college, and we'd be getting ready to go out at night, and I'd be doing everyone's hair and makeup. You know, we were in our like tiny bathroom on top of each other, and I'm doing everyone's hair and makeup. And my one friend's like, Trisha, what up, girl? She's like, you gotta just do it. She's like, you gotta just go to hair school and like try it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, what do I have to lose? I've worked every other job in the salon. I know I love it. So anyways, long story short, I go to hair school in Tampa. Paul Mitchell, what's up? Love Paul Mitchell. I cannot speak highly enough about their education.
That used to be like the most coveted shampoo.
Yeah.
Like I remember being like a kid, like in my aunt's tub, and she's like, "Don't use all my Paul Mitchell," and I'm like squeezing because I don't do anything like sparingly. It's like more is more in my book. And then she's like, "What happened? What's that like? They have that signature scent."
Yeah, like the tea tree.
And, no, the
Ash.
Yeah.
I would say ashwagandha.
And it smells like almost like nutty, but like. I don't know.
Fresh.
It's so hard to explain. And I would like go to school. It was like 4th grade. I'm like, yeah, I washed my hair with Paul Mitchell today. So diatribe,
totally. No, I love it. They're like the Ivy League of hair schools. I can't speak highly enough about them. But then I wanted to come back to work on Newberry Street because again, it was like the cat's meow. And for so many years and all those different things, I was like, I knew I loved the industry, but I don't think I want to own a salon because quite honestly, I saw how other people did it. And I was like, that life looks stressful as spook. I like, no, it's not for me. I like love the idea of having your own thing, but that's way too stressful. Like, I don't want to be dealing with all that stuff. But I found myself just wanting more, and not sure how to find it, which was why I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this coaching thing. Okay, I'm gonna do this online thing. Okay, you know, I became an educator for GHD, which I still love and I still do. But I was like doing all these other things and nothing was quite fulfilling me. And so I just kept having this itch of like, gosh, you know, like, can I do that? Can I really do that? And do I want to do that? And I also would like to add that I have spent a tremendous amount of my adult life in therapy, which again, I think everyone should do. And I have spent so much time working on myself and realizing things about myself. And what I realized when I saw these other people running businesses is perhaps I didn't want to run a business the way they were doing it. And so it wasn't the owning a business that was the problem. It was that the way they were doing it wasn't in alignment with how I wanted to do it. Yeah. And when I had that realization, I think that was kind of the ticket for me to be like, yeah, you can do this, and it's okay to do it differently. And I hired a business coach who, again, I can't speak highly enough about, Dr. Gregory, what's up? Yes. And he really helped me get clear on my goals, get clear on my core values. And I think for so many years, you know, I had so many ideas, so many things building up that then we just hit the ground running.
Yeah. And I say too, and I say this with my clients, I work one-on-one, like we always will be like, okay, take the messy action, take it, just start. But I do feel like there's a point where you need to sort of get to like ground zero with yourself first in terms of mindset shifts, limiting beliefs, action and accountability, because me too. I mean, sitting down, and a lot of people have this, you have so many ideas, and then they're all swirling, and then you're overwhelmed, and you're like, well, I'm just too overwhelmed, I'm not going to do it. But there's so much, I think, that we're so good at telling ourselves we can't do stuff, and then also doubting, and then holding ourselves back, that like I love all of the external support that you did allow yourself to invest in, because we don't have to do it alone. But I feel like also when you're not right in the right headspace, sometimes when I feel like I'm like forcing to do things, you do it with like a different energy behind it versus like taking a breath, just like before we chop all of our hair off, take a breath, and then say, okay, like what do I need to take care of for me first, so that I can show up in this
Totally.
way, in this business owner way, and whatever, to make sure like you're really creating something that you're gonna feel good about. So
well, yeah, and I love that you say
yeah.
that because Dr. Gregory, he's a business coach, but he's also a clinical psychologist, and so I feel like our work kind of toes the line. And in the beginning, there was a couple of assignments that I was having me to that were a little like uncomfortable for me because they were like going back and writing to my childhood self.
Oh, yeah.
And doing these things, and so there was a couple weeks where I wasn't delivering my homework on time. He said, you know, Alexandra, like it's okay, like you don't have to do that. Like it was the one where I was writing a letter to my younger self and telling her what she needed to hear that she never heard, you know. And it was a hard, and I didn't want to do it, and I was procrastinating it. And he said, you know, we don't have to do it. You don't have to do that. And I said, you know what, Dr. Gregory, actually, I do have to do it because I've seen other people who don't do the quote personal work, and I see how it affects their business, and I don't want that. Like I want to come into this at my max, full, capable potential. Because it will erode your business in other ways, and you think it's like personal and professional. It's not.
No.
It's so intertwined.
Yeah.
To the point that you probably don't even realize the things that are affecting your decisions. And so I was like, no, I do have to do this homework, and it's gonna suck, and I'm probably gonna cry, and like whatever. But you got to do the work.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes we're like, oh God, like what am I gonna say? I don't have anything to say, or like I don't feel like I've done anything to like write to my former self. Or also I do this where you write what you believe your story has been, but then you go back and you rewrite it to see the things of, okay, this happened. Well, how did this happen for me? Right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's super powerful too, but that's always what takes the most. When I work with one-on-one with people, it's you have to get uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
And I'm uncomfortable every day to push through.
Because
and those
it's
are the
energy
breakthroughs,
depleting
right?
for the
Yeah.
breakthroughs.
Yeah.
And I love that you brought that up because I think to me that's why the health and fitness and the fitness classes is why you find people who are like-minded. Because when you're pushing yourself to the extreme physically, you know what it's like to feel uncomfortable and push through to get to the other side, because you're never going to make any physical gains, right? Like whatever it is, whether you want to run a marathon or lift a certain amount of weight or whatever, you have to be uncomfortable so that you can do that. And it's the same thing with the mental game, with the career game, with anything, any interpersonal relationship. Like you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
In order to get to the next level. And I think that's why, I don't know if you would agree, like why, you know, as an adult now, I meet the most like-minded people in those classes because it's other people that are striving for the best version of themselves.
And then I'm sure you've had on that parallel side the people that have maybe been in your circle that just constantly talk about, I want to do this, or I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, but there's like no action behind it ever. And I'm like, girl, just stop talking about it. Don't talk about it. Actually,
because it's exhausting.
But I think until it's like, what is that saying? Like work in silence and like you let your results shine. So then sometimes you see those people like screaming, I'm doing all the things, but you're like, are you?
Right.
Like, are you?
Right.
And then I think that there's so much power in doing like that personal deep work, getting yourself to a point, especially in like a front facing service industry where you're going to be leading and managing teams. We have all experienced toxic work environments, and I think that sits with you, and very much like your experience, like, I mean, working in retail early on in my life, like terrible individuals that have been leading retail teams for years, there still are, and I'm like, how are these people responsible for teams?
Yeah.
And, you know, they lead in shame or fear or significance because they don't want anyone else to like take their spotlight. It's like, do the work, but like, also get out of my way because like this is my show, but I'm happy to like have you make money for me. And I think in those moments is where I found, and it took me a very long time, like to get your voice. Like I think over these past 3 years of creating something on my own and maybe feel the same, having something that you can stand in and be like, this is mine. No one's telling you what to say. No one's telling you what to do. I mean, I'm someone who doesn't really like to be told what to do, but I think that but I think that when you can identify those toxic things and know that that is not the way, then you come in at a mindset of like, I don't want to be like that person. I'm not going to be like that person. And I think it's actually even more powerful when you see in all that negative. And I'm sorry, I'm not saying like you need to go through all these bad times to like get in and actually do great things in your life. I don't necessarily agree with that. But I think like in that trauma, you know, or those challenges comes this like realization of something like bigger where you're like, oh wow, I see that.
Right.
And like, I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna be better. And I'm not gonna be like that. I'm not gonna go to those old ways. So yeah, I give you a lot of credit. But it
Thank
takes
you.
time.
It takes time.
You know?
And I think everything,
Yeah.
you know, when people say everything happens at the right time, and, you know, when you're like, oh, this thing isn't happening for me, this thing isn't happening, this thing isn't happening for me. And in those moments, why isn't it happening? Why isn't it happening? Why isn't it happening? And I look back on everything it took to get here. Physically, we are in Petaluma right now, which Petaluma is Greek for butterfly, hence all the butterflies here. When I think back to every time that I was so defeated and, you know, even looking for a space, you know, I looked everywhere. I was boots on the ground probably for close to 2 years before I found this space. And nothing was right, nothing was working out. I had offers in at 2 other places and they fell through for different reasons. And I remember just bawling hysterically and I can't believe this. And I look back, I'm like, those places weren't right.
It didn't work out.
They weren't
Yeah.
right. I was trying
Yeah.
to force it
Yeah.
because I was so desperate. And then all of a sudden this place appeared and it had everything that I had written down.
Right?
That
Isn't
I
it so crazy?
it's
Yeah.
in like, and I was like, I'm never gonna find anything like that. I'm gonna have to go hours outside the city, you know?
Yeah.
I'm never gonna find anything with all these things that I want. And we're right here in Brookline, which for those of you who don't know is 10 minutes from downtown Boston.
And it's so cute. I mean, it's just like the community of my dreams.
Everything.
Everything.
All
Great
of our
food,
neighbors. I told Livite
super-
is on the other side of this wall, and I told them next renovation I want a hole in the wall with a
Like
little
a
door
drive-through?
So they can,
Yes.
So they can
Or like a walk-through,
yeah, exactly.
right?
They can just deliver our smoothies
Hey,
right through the
guys.
wall.
And you're building community in this community,
Yeah.
which is so amazing. And I'm sure like a part of your brand pillars, but in the spirit of like pivot with purpose, like what was that moment for you, like in your work life prior to this beautiful salon? What was that moment where you're like, I'm done, like I'm doing my own thing? Like, was there a year or something that really shifted with you that you're like, it's
There
time?
was a lot of
Yeah.
little things over
Yeah.
the years, and I think, like I said, for a long time, it was like the limiting beliefs, the imposter syndrome, and I think honestly, seeing other people do it.
And COVID didn't help for those years, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but gave us maybe some time.
Yeah. But I think that, you know, when you said like all the people doing all the things, I think I saw people doing all the things. And so that was a big thing for me is I was like, I don't want to do all the things. I want to delegate so I can enjoy my life. I want to show people that you can have a successful career and a work-life balance, whatever that means. And I have more to talk about on that subject. That's not a
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that you can have a life that is in harmony, where you can enjoy your life outside of work and still have a fruitful career. And I wanted to show that to people. And so I got way far off the question that you asked.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of little things over the years. But I think it was coming home every day feeling depleted energetically, not feeling I was advancing in my career financially, and looking at the reasons why.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my clients
Yeah.
that were depleting me.
Yeah. Do you feel like you had a voice, like in your career, kind of being in an umbrella under a salon, but then also being this single entity? Did you feel a lot of like tug and pull of like, what can I post? What can I say? But having to, because that was like my big thing, building my own businesses. Where
Yeah.
like, I remember having a conversation with someone in my business and they're like, well, as long as you post something and it's on brand.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's not your brand
It's not
that
your
I'm
brand.
posting about.
Right.
Do you feel like there was a moment where you had to find your voice?
Yeah, there was a moment where I started, where I just decided, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start building my, you know, online presence, you know, through
Yeah.
Instagram and whatnot. And I wouldn't say there was like a push and pull per se,
Okay.
but I felt like I got a lot of,
Yeah.
I don't know how to sum that up in words.
Yeah. The eyes.
I got a
Yeah.
lot of like not being super well received by colleagues.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel like anyone that's this big, bright, shining star talent,
And
it's to put you down in a butterfly net and to keep you in a space where it still serves them is how people, like, that's that fight or flight for people that can't handle
Yeah.
other people with bigger dreams and bigger things.
Yeah.
Because you evolve as a person, but they don't want to see that new version of you because this is the one that they know and they can relate to. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like energy deflection. Like, how dare you change?
Yeah.
Right? How dare you? But people start to sense
You want
it.
more, right? And I think, you know, one of the, I love like the Instagram, whatever you want to call it, like Bible memes. Sometimes they just really sit with me, and I saw one that was so powerful the other day. It said, not everyone was put on this earth to grow and evolve.
Right. Yeah.
Some people were put here to remind you why you need to.
Yeah.
I was like,
we're dropping it. We're dropping it. So you are always showing up really amazing on social media.
Oh,
like
thank
you
you.
inspire me all the
gosh.
time.
I'm like, thank
so
you, because
real.
I feel inspired by you.
No, God, I'm like basic bitch over
No,
here on
you're
social
not.
media.
Are you
I'm like,
joking?
what's Instagram? You know, but
Oh my
I
God,
feel like you
hardly.
put the best videos together, and
Oh my
you're
gosh.
so motivating. And I
Thank
think
you.
like, you know, to have this platform and, you know, to have Alexandra on the platform, Alexandra Professional, like, what I think you've also done beautifully is like, you said morph it into like you as like a personal brand,
Yeah.
right? So how do you show up every day on social media? Like, what are some of your strategies behind it that you want to talk about business, but also stay true and like real to you and your community? Yeah.
So I think it's interesting because when, you know, I would say it's a benefit to be a stylist before Instagram existed. So, you know, when Instagram first came out, no one really knew what to do with it. You know, it had all those filters and whatever,
Right.
and, you know, and then like people
Remember
started
the
posting.
fade-ins with
Yeah,
like
oh my
the
God.
circles
Yes.
around people saying like
Yeah.
they would like fade in. I'm like, oh my God, I have like old videos.
No,
that-
you can literally go back
It's
and be like, that's from
cringe.
2012 because yikes, like lo-fi was my favorite
Mayfair,
filter.
right, or something, right?
Literally
Yeah.
lo-fi, and like there was one other one that was like my favorite, and I was like, I like song.
Right.
But
Look at
and
my
then
skin.
people started, you know, hairstylists and all in other industries, but hairstylists started, you know, posting their work online, and they started going viral. And I remember hating on them. I was like, oh, he doesn't even know what he's doing.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And then people told us, you know, social media people started popping up, and they're like, you know, have a separate Instagram for your personal and a separate for your hair. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. They're like, don't friend your clients on your personal Instagram, right?
Yeah.
They're like, don't cross those lines. And I was like, yeah, all right, cool. So I did that. And then after a while, I was like, no, forget this. I am my brand. Like, I am, for lack of a better word, selling myself. And, you know, I want my clients to know who I am outside of the salon and what I'm interested in. And I remember, you know, one of my clients who's like on the more conservative side, you know, I was at Art Basel in
Mm-hmm.
2017, and I'm like with all these graffiti artists and like freaking, you know, Snoop Dogg's
Yeah.
blunt roller.
Yes.
Do you know that that's a job?
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg has someone on his staff who just rolls his blunts.
Yeah.
What up, Snoop?
Yeah. Hey, Snoopy.
I don't know how to do that, but so you couldn't hire me, but I want to hang out with you.
Not applying for that job.
I'm not applying for that
That's
job.
not
I'd
my
get fired
pivot with
immediately.
purpose, right?
I'd get fired immediately. But, you know, and they were like, whoa, like I had no idea you had that side to you, because at work I'm all buttoned up and professional, and I'm like, yeah, you know, we are people with many varied things, and those are things I want to connect to people about. And that's why, you know, my podcast is called The Alexandra Show for obvious reasons, but that's why behind the chair, I say, like, we're putting on a show for our clients.
Yeah.
And I think it should be an authentic show. I don't think you should be pretending to be someone else.
Yeah.
But they're coming here to have good hair, and they want to leave feeling better than when they came in.
Yeah.
That's my job.
Yeah.
And so if I'm having a bad day, it doesn't matter. Now, I think, you know, you talked a little about retail and toxic retail environments. I do think there's a line that we need to figure out where that line is for ourselves,
Yeah.
where I look back and think about days I went to work when I shouldn't have gone to work.
Right.
That I had been through
Yes.
something that I actually needed to take some
To take a
time
minute. Yeah.
and take care of myself before
Yeah.
taking care of others, because
Yeah.
that nothing depletes you more than when you are not taken care of and you're taking care of other people.
And your internal voice is literally like screaming, like, why am I here?
Why am I here?
And then those are the days you make mistakes.
Exactly.
Or just like,
exactly.
yeah,
Or you,
no.
you lose clients because they're like, wow, you're really not yourself. It's like, well, no,
Yeah.
I'm not, because this really shitty thing just happened to me and I shouldn't
Right.
fucking be here.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But so that's why the Alexandra Show was born, because it's like, yeah, it's authentically me, but I'm choosing which parts of me to share. You know, and so that's how I show up on social media, and
Yeah.
that's why I think it's important to show where I go to work out and
Yeah.
what I'm doing in my spare time, and you know, all those things, because that gives people an understanding of who I am and you know, what what they're gonna get when they're in my chair.
Yeah. And you educate a lot too. And I just think for all of us girlies who love to get our hair done, but may not know how to do our hair, some like tips or tricks, like, there's education, inspiration, a little insight into you. And I think like anything, and I know this gets like tossed around often, but you buy on vibes, whether it be product or service based. Because just like there's a million coaches, just like there's a million everybody, like nobody's you. And I think those people that gravitate towards you, I mean, you're sitting down having many conversations all day with people at all levels. And I think there's definitely been hairstylists I've seen throughout the years where I'm like, I would not be able to sit in that chair, like, unless I was sitting in silence and fine. And like if someone's giving me a blowout, I'm like, fine, I'll just sit here and like play on my phone. But it should be an appointment that you look forward to.
Right.
And if you have a stylist that's like not in line or not listening to you,
right,
or you constantly walk out of there, or you walk out of there with green hair, and you're like, something didn't go right.
Off.
I think people attracting to you as your person, like knowing you can show up, talk about animals, talk about working out, talk about all the beauty treatments that we like love to do.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it special too, because there's someone for everyone out there.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And I think that, my education course is called It's Not About the Hair, because there's so much that we do that is not about the hair. But I'm like, but it's always about the hair, because the hair has to be perfect. But there's so much about what we do that isn't about the hair. And to your point, I just was talking about this week. We had a class, like, you got to take accountability. Not everything is a perfect science, and hair color is not a perfect science. Oh my gosh,
I give you so much credit. Yeah.
And so I have turned clients' hairs blue when they didn't order blue. Like, it happens, shit happens. But it's about taking the accountability, being the professional, telling them their hair's blue, not trying to cover it up, and then fixing it and knowing how to fix it, right? And so I think that that's where a lot of times people go wrong, because they just get scared and they poop their pants and send the client out the door, and that's not good business practice.
Bad. Yeah, because we're walking billboards for you, You want to be like, Alexandra does my hair, and then that's a snowball, and all of it. So it's your personal brand on the streets.
Absolutely. Which, again, to your point, is why I want clients to know how to do their hair. I mean, I never want it as good as when I do it. Just to be clear, that's job security.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm forever locked in.
But I want my hair to look good when it's walking down the street, because that's how more clients are going to find out about Petalluda and come here.
Yeah. So going back to where you're talking about manifesting, journaling, like, I know you had a pretty interesting journey just coming and creating this in your brand pillars, and I know you also in the salon leave out your brand pillar portfolio so people can read like the whys and like your journey of like your core values and like, but what were some of those steps that you took throughout those years of like sitting down, journaling, putting it out there, and like how important do you feel it is to like be a part of your routine if you're wanting to do anything big and meaningful? Like,
I think it is absolutely imperative, non-negotiable. And I want to pull like a Matthew McConaughey one day and write a book with all my journals of just like a mix of random thoughts and journal entries and whatever. I was just going through, I literally have like stacks of journals.
Yes.
And some of them are gratitude journals where I list, 3 things a day. What am I grateful for today? What am I grateful for today? And compound pounding, what you attract, what you talk about. So you attract what you think about. So you write down what you're grateful for, more gratitude comes. You write down dreams, goals, everything. I mean, it literally is, I have everything journaled. And I was so sad on one of my trips this year, I actually had a gratitude journal and I think I left it on a plane. And I was so sad because I was at the very last page and I was like, man, because I love looking back through it. And
somebody has that somewhere, making those wishes come true.
I know.
So let's see how that works out. Kris Jenner. Yeah, Kris Jenner.
What's that? I'm available to be
You're always welcome in Boston. We need to make t-shirts.
Yeah,
or
Kris
like
Jenner
Kris
adopt
Jenner
us.
adopt us. Yeah.
And I can't speak just about how important that is, like writing things down and accomplishing your goals, and even things that I forgot about. I went back to Northeastern actually in like 2018 and took business classes at their business school for a graduate certificate. And I went back this year, and I was reading my human resources final paper, and I was like, I was gassed because I had kind of forgotten about it. Like I remembered, but I didn't remember the details. And everything I wrote about in that paper I've done at Petalluda. I was like, wow, that actually happens. And the core values, to your point, we have Petalluda's North Stars, which, you know, are authenticity and community and, you know, self-respect and all these things that are, if you're going to be part of the team, you have to buy into that. And I talk about that every, you know, employee, every team member gets one of those when they're hired. And if that resonates with you, and if all your decisions and choices are coming from a place that is representative of that, we're golden, right?
Yeah, consistency. Well, beyond the obvious of having your own salon physically, like, how are you different today than you were 3 years ago?
Woo! That's a really good question. I feel...
Or how are you showing up differently
Yeah,
today?
I feel I've always done my best to show up as authentically as possible, and that has ebbed and flowed over the years, you know, and we could take a detour down like 12 different things right now, but things that helped were like, for me, were stopping drinking. That was huge. Because it allowed me to really step fully into myself and be comfortable and confident with who I am. And not need something to mask it. So that was a huge thing for me. But today, better than how I was 3 years ago is I feel liberated and comfortable and truly, truly comfortable and confident with who I am. And I think that's a long journey and a hard journey. And there was a lot of things that went into it. And I want to also say it is a continual journey. It's not like an arrival and you're done.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
I'm just want to be done.
No, you're never done.
But you're never done.
Never
You're
done.
never done.
Because in our world, it's like, we did this. What's next? You know, what's next? What's next? So it's like staying present in the months that the salon has been open and just really relishing in, like, holy shit, I did that.
Yeah.
We did it, you know?
Yeah. And it's interesting because the question that I've gotten from clients, friends, everybody, I would say the most common question is, oh my God, are you so stressed now that you have your own business? And I keep saying, like, I don't know if I'm forgetting to pay bills or something. I'm like, but I am less stressed than I have been for the last decade. Truly. Truly. And I think it's because I'm finally doing what I was meant to do and I am in alignment.
Yeah. Pivot with purpose, baby. Well, and beyond you, I mean, you have an incredible team here that you really have, like, curated. That also are so diverse and unique in their own ways. What was that process like of saying, like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I know I'm not going to do it alone, and here's who I want on my team. So do you feel like identifying those individuals that also came back into that North Star of the brand and the pillars, and that all, you know, brings something unique? Like, how did you decide, and how were you, like, assured that these were the right choices for you?
No, and I
because there's a lot of people in Boston,
I know,
right?
Totally.
So,
and I truly, you know, could not be doing this without them.
Yeah.
The team is so amazing from day one. I cannot speak highly enough about them. Just even in the willingness to, like, take a chance on me, right? I mean, you're leaving a job that you are, you know, secure at some level, in some capacity, and you're willing to take a risk on me. And I don't take that lightly, you know, I do feel responsible for that. And I think, you know, I had the benefit of knowing a handful of them prior and knowing that we were aligned. But there was lots of conversations about, you know, what they want, what are their goals, how can I help you achieve those goals? And I knew, you know, what happened to me where I felt stagnant, and I never want that to happen to someone on my team.
Yeah.
And I never want someone to feel, like, stuck.
Right.
And I never want them to feel like they can't come to me and say, I feel stuck and I want to do something else, or I want to take down this other avenue, or I want to do this. You know, I want this to be a place where we can create new ideas, create a new structure for salons so that you can flourish without having to leave and open your own studio. Right?
Because then what's the other option?
And then exactly what you said is being aligned with the core values. And, you know, when I was interviewing people who I didn't know before, one of my questions was, what do you do for your community?
Yeah.
And they all, and, you know, had answers immediately of community outreach and service that they do. And I was like, done. You know, and then we had one girl, Carmen, who we're all obsessed with, and she found us on Instagram.
She's, like, brand new, right? And, like, really into this world, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's a Paul Mitchell graduate.
Yeah.
Had never worked in a salon before, and you would never know it.
Yeah.
And she found us on Instagram and said, like, she could feel the vibe through our online presence, and was like, that's the vibe I want.
Well, because as they say,
insane.
yeah. Well, they're all products of the environment, but I will tell you wholeheartedly, it starts with the top. And, you laying the foundation and the groundwork of non-negotiables. We are not catty. We do not act like this. Like, I can't even tell you. I mean, I can tell you the salons that I've been in years and years and years. I mean, going on 20 plus years in Boston, where you walk in and you're like, everyone hates each other. And it's like, you're trying to do a service that's like making you feel good, but also you're uncomfortable because so-and-so, like you go to the bathroom and you hear someone bitching about like somebody like at the sink and like, I've just seen it, or people just being like so fake. Just stop with the fakeness. And I think going back to it and not hating on our city or at a certain point in your life, but at some point, like, enough with like the surface level conversations. And I think like that's how you find your people. That's how you find your tribe. I know the biggest complaint in Boston is like where do we go to like meet like great individuals that's not just like let's go out and get lit, right? And like be at like God knows where club and God knows doing what, and then feeling like shit the next day. Like beyond just like that social representation of like, oh, for me to be social I have to go out and get drunk. Or
Which
get
you'll make
wasted.
a lot of friends that way.
Right, you get and go broke and it's very expensive
and
then
deplete your
gain
body,
weight and
deplete
like
your
God knows
soul.
what. But like having a community of people that want to clap for you, want to say, how can I help you? Oh, you started a business, how can you? And I think it takes time, but I think you're creating something very magical here, because I feel like behind the chair and beyond, like you said, getting a part of your community, like this is a safe space for people to come in. Like I know we did an event with Parlay House,
which is amazing,
and bringing women together to, as I said, you're leading by example of like, if I can do it, so can you. And people like showing up and believing in themselves and believing there's like a support group of women that aren't just, walking up and down Comber Newberry with their Birkins, looking you up and down, or like, who are you married to, and like, how much money do they have? And I was definitely in some groups that, there's some ladies like I love, but there's definitely those people that you're like, not my person, right? Not my group. What do you focus on like outside of the salon? Like, what are some of the community partners?
The group that I personally volunteer and invest most of my time with is Empower. They recently rebranded from Empower Her to Empower, because they started as an organization that served young women and girls who've lost their mothers. And recently, like, they were given a in-kind donation and were able to expand, which they had been wanting to do for a long time, and they now serve all children of all parent loss. And I lost my mother when I was 23. And I know what a significant impact that had on my life. And it was very fast and traumatic and unexpected. And I know how tremendously that impacted me at 23, which you're an adult, but like kind of not really. To see all these young women and girls who, they serve people ages 6 to 24. Which I think is really valuable. And so to work with that community and to see everything that Kara, who's the founder, has done is really, truly remarkable. And so any way that I can find, whether it's time giving to them or, donations. And what I did when I opened Petalluda was I worked with Serinda from Monroe to create a custom scent for Petalluda. Smells delicious. And
our candles.
The proceeds from these candles, as well as my own, because then I have a custom scent called Rise, because one of my favorite sayings is that we rise. We all rise together, and we rise by lifting others. And so the proceeds from those two scents go directly to Empower. And then each of the founding stylists, so Allison, Morgan, Laureen, and Adasia, each created their own scent, also with Serinda at Monroe. Awesome. And then the proceeds from those candles go to a charity of their choosing.
Yeah. So many things. Well, before we get into wrapping up and some like fun, like fast fire questions, I know you and I, we just love all the woo and the crystals and all the things. And not to like tie in emotions, but I mean, I'm sure your mom like sends you signs every day. Like,
Yo.
I know. Can we just like talk about that for a second, because you know my dead bird story and all of that, which I shared with you. But like having this salon now, and I think you have such a great family, a super fun dad, and like you bring him to your workouts and like all of it. But like, what are some of the ways you feel like your mom like in this salon?
So this is crazy. I'll try to tell this as quick as possible because I get her. She be talking to me all the time.
Oh yeah.
She be talking to me all the time.
Oh, I love it.
And when I was looking at this space, I was like, I think this is it. I think this is the neighborhood. Like, I think this is it. So I was like, I parked here and I was like, I'm gonna go like meet the neighbors. I'm gonna go get a coffee from Cafe Feeks, which is right down the street. So I went and got my, my chai tea or whatever, and they had little macaroons, and it's like, oh, what flavors are the macaroons? There was like a purple one and a yellow one. And I love dessert. I don't like my dessert to taste like a flower. And so usually like purple and pink, it's like rose or like lavender.
Right.
I'm not interested in that. I want like chocolate. I'll do lemon, like whatever.
Yeah,
So,
lavender is a tough flavor.
Right, I'm not interested in that. So then I said, and so then I think they just said like, oh, it's purple. And I was like, oh, it's purple flavor.
It's like mystery.
So I was like, I guess I'll have the yellow lemon one. And I went and got it. And then I went out to my car and I reached in my bag and I had gotten the purple macaroon. And I was like, that was Mom. Her favorite color is purple.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was her being like, yep, this is it. This is your spot. I was like, they better give it to me. Let me talk to the landlord right now.
No. Kick down the doors. I love that. No, I love those. Do you see a lot of feathers and like, is there anything? Yeah.
I actually, in my journaling and one of the, soul coaching courses I took back in like 2016, they said like, write down a sign that you want to see. And I said, show me a white feather to tell me everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. Oh, so cool. I know. And that book sign, which I forget who freaking wrote that, but it's this like famous medium. Yeah. No, it's
I know.
so
we
many
always
powerful
talk about
things.
the signs that
I know. I mean, that
you
could
just
be
had
like
a freaking hawk.
I had a hawk land like
Like
literally
on your head, basically.
on my porch. But I'm like dead bird rebirth, like all the things.
Oh,
but
yeah.
that's a whole nother.
Well,
podcast.
right before, remember I kept texting you right before this. I kept seeing dead birds like everywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, Megan, I saw another dead bird. I saw another dead bird. I saw another dead bird.
It's a rebirth. It's a rebirth. Oh my gosh. Well, such good conversations. And this is, I would say, for anyone at any level, sitting with an idea, I think the nuggets are, you got to start with you first. You got to recognize there's time for a change. Trying to, as best you can, like find out action plan, like how to get yourself out of the situation if you do want to grow.
Totally. And I think too, having the conversations is really important. We didn't talk too much about that, but having the conversations with whoever, where you are, because you might be surprised.
Yeah.
You might be surprised.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're having the same conversations over and over and over again and nothing's happening, then it's time to make your action plan.
And what is also, they say, sometimes the advice that you need to hear is what you would give someone else. So try to find someone else who's in a similar situation and ask them for advice, right? So, yeah. Lots of powerful
We
things.
just scratched the
Lots of
surface.
powerful things. It's part 2 to come, but fun questions. So when you're not here, like what is your non-negotiable like in your routine every day beyond the salon?
Beyond the salon, I'm working out. I have to for my mind, my brain, my health, everything. Yep, working out. And then taking care of myself. And I actually just posted this, like a post online where I tag like every person that touches my face because it's like 1 million people. Because I do not believe in beauty secrets.
Right.
I'm like,
throw it,
bullshit.
put it out there.
Like, tell everyone what you do. And I get it. Not everything is accessible to people at different whatevers, you know what I mean? But like you said, it's our moneymaker.
It's a moneymaker. You can't mess with a moneymaker.
And like I said, I started when I was 14. I've been in the industry for 6 years. And I just think it's important, especially as a woman in this industry, not to have beauty secrets.
Yeah. What's your coffee order and like your favorite place to go? I know.
Okay.
Give it to us. Give it to us.
Okay, ready? So I am like in the morning. I get up, non-negotiable, 2 shots of espresso, black from my Nespresso maker. It's like the Sucro or whatever. It's like creamy, swirly, not too bitter, but 2 shots straight, nothing
from
in it.
Nespresso, right?
From Nespresso at home before I work out. Okay, I might be a little bit of a caffeine addict. And then
me too.
if I'm going to work out, I might also have a Celsius. But But then
Now
she
knows
goes to Dunkin' on the way to work, and then we'll sip on an iced coffee like all through the day, and I get like pumps of everything. Like, don't even talk to me. Like, I get an oat milk splash in cold brew, and then like what season we're in?
Does
And
the
it's
flavors
we're-
change with the
Yeah,
seasons?
so they're in like
Okay.
butter pecan season. So
Yeah.
right now I have butter pecan and caramel swirl.
So you
And
inspired.
Dunkin', I would happily be
Dunkin' sponsor
an
us.
ambassador. You can make the Alexandra Show a coffee.
I mean, wait, there's got to be a franchise owner. We're plugging them
I mean, we're in
somehow.
Boston, for Christ's sake.
Right, we got you.
Come on.
That's the next thing we're writing down. Dunkin' ambassador. Dunkin' ambassador. Goal, check. Who inspires you before I let you go? I know you inspire so many
gosh.
people, but is there a person and then like a book everybody has to read? Like,
Oh my gosh.
where's that
Well,
inspiration?
you inspire me for
No.
one, because you do, because you are someone who just says, I'm gonna fucking do it. You are. And I think there's so much power in that, because so many people are afraid to take the action, they're afraid to take the bold step. And you just go for it, and it's really inspiring. So thank you. Truly.
Thank you.
But you're also like, come with me, and that's what I want. Like, I want a group of women who are like, I'm going for it, and everyone get in. You know,
Right, get
beep,
in,
beep.
get in, losers. We're going to build our empire, right?
Literally,
Hashtag Mean Girls.
literally.
Yeah.
Maddie
Mean Girls
Ciccone,
movie, yeah.
Madison.
Oh, I know.
She's
the
another
best.
one, because I
Yeah.
go to her religiously every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Soul Hit. Don't ever change that class.
I
please.
know. Come on,
I
Soul.
need
Just
it.
like,
And I go there when I'm like working through things. I mean, I go there whatever, but like the amount of times I've cried about wanting this, and there's times I would close my eyes and visualize it, and I would visualize like all these different things, and I'm telling you, like, it works. And she is an incredible person beyond the bike as well, with her motivational coaching and confidence coaching and everything. So
Yeah.
those are my local faves.
yeah, I agree with you on that. I think I created about 3 events, like in that Soul Cycle class in my mind. And, you know, Madison's like, stay present. But I'm like, okay, Pivot with Purpose Live. I want this and this and this. And then I'm going to hire this and this and this person.
And then you did it.
But also in
Yeah.
the lowest of lows, like I
Yeah.
remember going into Soul Cycle and like 20 seconds before I get a text of like an offer fell through or and in those darkest moments of like, you're trash, like you're never gonna make money again, everybody hates you, the worst recruiter, you go in and you're like, okay, I'm gonna work this out, and it's like, life's not
you
so
let it go.
bad, it's not bad, we're gonna sweat, we're gonna do all things. So what are you most excited about looking into the new year? Before I let you go.
Looking into the new year, 2024 is empire building.
We
Empire
ready.
building. We ready. Her soul is aligned. Her soul is aligned, and she's ready to be famous, quite frankly. Yeah, and truly, you know, building other people to their fullest potential. I think I didn't talk about that at all, but the thing that has been the most surprisingly rewarding to me is watching the people on my team thrive.
Yeah.
Like, it could make me cry just thinking about it, but
Yeah.
watching them thrive in an environment where they are supported and they feel supported is like, I just got full body goosebumps, because I knew I would it's not that I didn't think I would like doing that, I did, but I didn't realize how tremendously impactful that would be for me.
But you did talk about it, and you chose them as much as they chose you. So that's the magic in there, and the future is so bright for everybody.
And that's what
Yeah.
I'm excited about. I'm excited to keep building the team and keep building the empire. So get in, losers.
Get in, losers. We're going to Dunkin's and getting a slutty iced coffee.
Slutty iced coffee.
And get our hair did and makeup, and we ride.
Toot toot.